Okay, so it is Sunday. I think it's the 23rd of September. And tonight we're going to be talking about Einkorn wheat and why Young Living found it so necessary. Actually, it was Gary Young was on a mission to go back to the wheat that he knew as a boy. I don't know if you guys know that much or if any of you are farmers, but if you look at the wheat fields as you're driving down the turnpikes or, going through the country, you've got to notice that they're only, two or not even 2 feet high. It's very short stacked wheat. And over the years, even since I was a kid, I've noticed wheat getting shorter and shorter. I didn't think about it really until Gary explained it one time for us at a convention. And so because he can explain it so much better than I, why einkorn wheat is compatible with the human body and why it's so much better for us than what I said, the franken wheat that is offered to us. It is GMO'd, and it's full of stuff that really is not good for us. And the gluten content and all the different chromosomes that are on the wheat or in the wheat that we are served today is so not what the wheat was from, even 100 years ago, but 1,000 years ago. And so Gary went back and wanted to bring forward this ancient wheat because it's so much more compatible to our bodies and our systems. It's good for us, not bad for us. So and I'm going to let him explain all that because for tonight I have a video to show you. Many of you have never heard Gary Young speak. That man was wonderful. He speaks from the heart. He's so good and passionate about what he does. And so at one of the conventions that I happened to be at, I was thrilled to be able to find a video online where he was explaining about einkorn wheat. And so since you all know he passed away in July, so we won't get to hear him speak per se anymore. He has plenty of great representatives, but Gary himself. So I thought it would just be a treat for all of us. Number one, because it's at convention, and I'm hoping every one of you guys can get on board and get to convention because I'm telling you, it's an educational banquet of learning and you get to hear some of the really great speakers through the whole convention. But anyway, this happened at convention. This is Gary himself. And so I'm going to go ahead and get it started. And he's going to just explain about einkorn wheat, where it came from, and why he was so adamant about getting it. So let me go here. I'm going to try to share this. I've never done this before until today. Okay, I still see myself. Does anybody see it? Uh-oh.
Yes.
Oh, you do see it? I don't see it. My screen is blank. Maybe I should go on my phone. Okay.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, but does it say Zoom or does it have Gary standing there?
Oh, no, it says Zoom.
Yeah, where did Gary go? Let me see. Hang on a second, you guys. I'm sorry. Working this. Okay, now you see a different screen, correct?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to make it big.
Yep.
And I hope the sound comes through. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to test this. Lee and I tested this earlier to make sure that you could hear the video. So I'm going to click it now and hopefully it'll roll. And let me tell you, it's 14 minutes long. And halfway through it, whoever's videoing it turns their camera sideways, but you can still get the information, and then after a while they turn it back. But still, the information here and just hearing Gary himself is wonderful. So let's roll. I hope it works.
Now, if that's not called an addiction, I don't know what it is. Einkorn. How many of you heard of einkorn? Whoa! Do you mean you like it? Would you like to have more of it? Well, there's a good chance it might happen. This is our field in Utah. We've had 200 acres of einkorn harvested this year in Utah and over 2,000 acres harvested in France for young living. The einkorn is the only grain in the history of the world that's never been hybridized. It has 14 chromosomes. Spelt has 28. Kamut has 28. Durum wheat that is in your products today, in the world, on the shelf, in the bread, even in you ladies' lipstick. Has gluten in it from durum wheat with 42 chromosomes. And you wonder why we have all the problems that we read and hear about and many experience, called celiac, called gluten intolerance, allergies, all of these things. All you have to do is get on your computer and just type in gluten and look at what comes up. You need to become aware of what hybridization is doing to you as a human being and how it's compromising your digestive system, okay? Why did I go down this path? And I'll tell you why. Because I kept watching the wheat get shorter and shorter and shorter. Because I grew up and we harvested oats and we harvested barley and we harvested wheat on our ranch as a boy, and it was tall. It was above my head when I was a little boy. Nancy and I used to walk behind my dad as he was cutting with the horses with a machine called a binder. 3 horses abreast. And our job was picking up the bundles and putting them together like a teepee. They were so tall that when we'd get a moment, we would run and play in the teepees, cowboys and Indians, okay? And then all of a sudden, now I'm a teenager and I see a wheat field and it's this tall and I think, that's impossible. I wasn't that short. I was short, but I wasn't that short. And so what's happening here? Well, what's interesting, I had some wheat seed. Mary had wheat seed, her mother had wheat seed that had been in storage for over 30 years. And so I said, I'm going to take it down to the farm and plant it. So I took it down to the farm and planted it, and it grew up to my waist. Because it was second hybridization, not fourth and fifth. But yet it grew taller. I harvested it the old-fashioned way. I fed it to people that had gluten intolerance, and they didn't have a reaction. And I said, something is wrong. So I started studying to find out. That was in 2000. I did a 4-year study with over 200 people in my clinic that I had in Springville at that time. And it was interesting to see that people weren't having a reaction. Why? Because I cut it with horses before it was mature, when it was in the soft dough stage. And then we would shock it, let it stand in the field for 7 days, 10 days. And what happens is the dew, the rain comes on it and then flashes off with the sun of the day. It stimulates that kernel to germinate. And when that kernel germinates, it activates all the enzymes in that kernel to facilitate digestion in your system. Our modern instruments today called combines wait till it's completely mature, and then they cut it and thrash at the same time. It never gives it a chance for that kernel to activate the enzymes. Plus, the 42 chromosomes makes it a super starch, a super sugar, super addictive. That adds to the problems. So I cut this, whoops. Can we run this, Jordan? No? There we go. Okay. This is a little video that I clipped because I want you to see this. This was a very fascinating discovery in Turkey. They first identified this archaeological site in 1994. It took several years to get permits from the Turkish government before they were able to start excavating. Once they started excavating, they made one of the greatest discoveries in modern times.
For me, this is one of the most exciting sites of modern archaeology. Because here at Göbekli Tepe are some of the oldest buildings in the world. They date to nearly 3 times the age of the first Egyptian pyramids. And there's a real mystery here. Who built this place? And more importantly, how could they have done it?
together, supposedly.
This astonishing structure is 12,000 years old. It lay buried and undiscovered until 1994.
Hello.
The archaeologist who unearthed it is Klaus Schmidt.
It's great to be.
Welcome me in progress. What a place, it's spectacular, isn't it? I mean, these are great.
Big question is who owns it? One thing is very important. Never a face is depicted. They are always faceless.
I saw you, as you came down, you were working on a very sophisticated project. This looks amazing.
What is a masterpiece of craftsmanship? It's one stone. It's one made from one stone. We have a flat relief of a boar, and we have this high relief of a leopard.
This is an extremely complex society.
Yes, yes. And this is a surprise. We didn't know this. We didn't expect this. And what we are doing here, we add a chapter in world history, a chapter which we didn't know it existed before.
To construct Göbekli Tepe with its 50-ton megaliths would have needed a huge army of well-organized workers. Yet 12,000 years ago was the Stone Age, a time when people were supposed to be hunter-gatherers living in small groups. How did they sustain the numbers essential to build such a vast temple? The answer lies a short distance away. Here something happened at this time that would change our world forever. It was all to do with one particular type of grass. It's an ancient type of wheat which grew totally wild, just as it does today. It's called Einkorn wheat.
Now this is what you're going to see coming up here that's very fascinating.
On the head of the wheat, you're right, they're just the tiniest of touches, look what happens.
See how easy the kernels fall off? That's because that's the way it was created, so it would reseed, it would regenerate, and create a crop for the next year. Now look at this.
Two types of wheat. In the original wild wheat, a special ridge of cells between the stalk and the seed breaks down as the plant ripens, and this allows the seed to fall away. But in the wheat with the genetic mutation, these cells remain as a solid band. It means the new wheat never lets go of its seeds. Now, in the normal circumstances in the wild, that would doom the plant because it just couldn't scatter the seeds. Like buying it, nothing happens. But it turns out that for one animal species, this trait is really beneficial. Us.
So through hybridization, what it did, it changed the genetic structure for reproduction, for regeneration, for regrowth. And of course, all the other things that came with it that were not expected. The wheat of today is not fit for human consumption. It's a toxic substance. Now, this is one of our machines in France. This is your flour factory. Brand new, went into production last year. We are so proud of it and the job that we're doing. I first discovered Einkorn in 1996 in Hunzeland. Jerome, our farm manager for the Einkorn,
international, il n'y a plus qu'à attendre qu'on récolte, il n'y a aucune intervention à y faire, il n'y a plus qu'à se poursuivre. On le regarde.
2,000 acres of Einkorn in France. It's just the beginning.
La première machine ici,
This is inside the flour mill.
après la décortiqueuse, il y a un système d'aspiration pour aspirer tout ce qui est l'aval et tout ce qui est plus léger que le grain. Une fois qu'on a passé à travers ces machines, on trieur alvéolaire, il enlève tout ce qui est plus long et tout ce qui est plus court que le grain. Parce qu'on a épuisé toutes ces étapes, on a un grain qui est propre et prêt à être consommé. Le moulin, c'est plutôt un moulin artisanal qui fonctionne avec des meules en granit qui se frictionnent l'une sur l'autre assez proches pour écraser le grain à la vanille comme l'eau. Une fois que le grain il est écrasé, il faut le transporter jusqu'au tamiseur, un Manchester. Et du tamiseur, on enlève le son de la farine, qui pouvait y avoir comme un numérotier, est écarté de ce produit qui va à consommation animale. Et la farine, elle, dans le sachet en bivade, souvent pour aller en faire soit de la pâtisserie, soit de la boulangerie, soit de pâtes, tout ça, tout ce qu'on peut faire avec le farine. Pour se garder, on a discuté au moment, on a pris la barrière de la langue, on a toujours réussi à se comprendre. Et nous attendons bien aidé dans la démarche lancée du temps. Je vous remercie.
There's the einkorn after thrashing before going into the grinder. The husk. That's an einkorn head. In the green state, this is going into the soft dough stage, and the maturing stage. There's our einkorn field in Utah. That's a chaff of rye. Looks very similar. That's what's called red fife wheat, 42 chromosomes. There's our einkorn growing in July the 28th. It's about a week to 10 days behind the growth of Utah, and we've already finished our harvest in Utah. There's Yukon, the tender of the field. There's one of the fields in Utah, all cut and chopped and ready to go to the thrashing machine. So, how many of you enjoy the spaghetti? How many of you like the pancake mix? How many of you want to see some more products?
Okay. Hello there again. Did everybody enjoy that? Did everybody hear it? I was hoping with all my heart you could hear it, and somebody texted me and said she could, so I went with that.
We could hear it. It was great. We just got out of the executive and above training, so we missed the beginning of it, but we're grateful that you did the video.
Well, you know what? This is being recorded, so it will be there, and you can also go out to YouTube and find it also. So I just really appreciate seeing Gary and hearing his voice and the passion he has behind what he did. So now, you didn't know you were coming to a science lesson tonight, did you guys?
So I was confused at the halfway in the video. So once it started turning and they were speaking in French, I couldn't read anything that they were saying. So what were they talking about during that period?
How Gary went over, because that's where the original seeds, families that go back hundreds of years, have these seeds, and so he got them involved to start planning and helped them, gave them the funds and so on. Didn't say all that, but I know that's what happened because he explained it. And they were just going through the process of how it does. But they did say one thing very important, that the original einkorn seed, which is thousands of years old, never needed herbicide, pesticide, fungicide, none of that stuff, because it already had a bug resistant whatever. All it needed was sunshine and water. And so now today, with the wheat that we have, it's fully GMO. 100% of the wheat in America is GMO. And so it's inbuilt with all those things inside of it. You know, Dana, I'm going to tell you to go back and watch it. I've watched it like 3 times today, and I just loved it. And so it would pay to go back and check it out, maybe from your own computer where there's a better connection. But I wanted to say, did anybody notice what it said as far as celiac people? Now, I know Monica is highly can't do gluten whatsoever, and I don't know if she actually eats this stuff or has tried it because she's so sensitive. But I did notice Gary say that's what inclined him to go find this wheat, because when he was giving it to some people, they weren't having any kind of reactions from it, even though they were celiac. And so that's why he went and did all this research, went over there to France and got in with these guys so that he could bring a wheat about so that people could have it, and it's good for you. So I'd love to know if Monica has ever eaten it, if she's tried it, or if she's too scared to yet. But Gary Young said that from his own lips. I think if it was me, I would try a little, maybe at a time. Let's see. People could, what did I write here? People could eat and not be affected. The shaft. Oh, I know. In the shaft of the wheat. I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if anybody else did. How the original wheat, the way God created it back in the day, the shaft would be really loose and kind of melt away so that the seed could fall down and replant itself. All the GMO stuff that we have today, they've hibernized it. I don't know if that's right. So much now that it doesn't break away. They have to literally chop those things off and shake them up in their machines and all that kind of stuff. So it was made originally, God made it to do that kind of job. And the husk falls away also, leaving the berry, which I thought was interesting too. But let's see. I had somebody already text me and say, this is awesome. So I'm glad that you guys appreciate it. This is the kind of information you get when you go to the convention. Let's see. What else did I have here? I wrote a couple notes staring at. I guess that's it. Oh, the difference of the chromosomes. The chromosomes now of the wheat that they've hybridized is 42 chromosomes, and then they have 3 genomes or whatever, gnomes or whatever those are called, which is totally abnormal for the human body to try to figure out what to do with when it goes into your system. That's why there is so much celiac. That's why there's so much gluten sensitivity. That's why people, well, I am assuming that's why so many people have skin diseases and what is it, eczema. All that stuff is caused by what we put in our bodies, and I'm saying wheat is a big culprit of it. So really, that's all I got to say about it. I'm curious. Curious if anybody on here really recognizes how many Einkorn products that we have. And if anybody's ever tried them. I have it turned down here somewhere in the book. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different products. Actually, I think there's 2 more added. I don't know if you can see that. All I see is Dana's face. I'm not sure. I don't know if you can see the big book or not. But so what do we have as Einkorn products? We have the flour. Okay, somebody's not muted. That's a really weird sound.
Yeah, I was just going to say, hey, Julie, this is Karen. I'm with Leah today, just getting out of the executive book. But, hey, we tried the Einkorn flakes.
Yes.
And they are very, very good. And I do have a gluten sensitivity, not the whole celiac and everything along that line. And it was completely tolerable. And the best thing about it is my kid, 9 years old, who thinks he knows everything, actually liked it. So here we are feeding him healthy stuff. And I do think they're out of stock right now, but when we did try it from Function or Convention, it was really good. And it tasted good. It didn't upset my stomach. So the Einkorn Flakes, the cereal, was really good.
That's good to know. I have not gotten it yet. But you know what I do have?
Yeah.
I have the pancake mix and waffle mix. And I do the spaghetti noodles. Now, since then, they've come out with the rotini noodles. They've also come out with granola. And then those berries they came out at Convention. And then what you just said.
Yeah, just so you know, too, that the Einkorn Flakes are going to be coming back at the beginning of October.
And the Einkorn berries.
And the
berries.
Einkorn berries.
Yes, they'll be back in stock. But so for people, you know, I've got to tell you, and this is the honest truth, when I made these pancakes, they come out like a flat pancake. They're not big and flat, fat and fluffy like you would if you used the Aunt Jemima stuff, because they don't have all that crap in them to make them rise like that. So they do come out very, very flat, but they taste great. They're a pancake. They just look different, and I think that you know, like the kids especially are going to look at them and go, oh my god, what is that thing? But it tastes very good. And if you use I don't know if you use a syrup that goes actually with it, but whatever syrup you use, it's going to make it taste just like a pancake. And then the noodles are similar to wheat noodles, if you've ever had those. And the fact is, you know, we've been eating so poorly in this country for so long. Anything that's wheat that we have is literally, I mean, I hate to say it, but it is. It's just crappy food, but that's what we're used to. So when we start eating things that are better for us and more healthy for us, it's something we just have to learn to get used to. And if you don't want it, that's okay, but you're killing your gut. I'm telling you, do some research on leaky gut syndrome and wheat. Believe me, I've been fighting it for years. So I just do some homework, and you're worth it. It's worth making yourself learn to love what was originally made for us to eat, instead of all this stuff that they've put out there to make it mass produced and cheap and whatever. It's just you know, you're worth it. So teach yourself to like what's good. But I'm not here to lecture you about it. I'm just here to tell you we have several different products now, and this was a love of Gary's, and he put so much time and effort into it. So I'm assuming every year that we go to Convention, they're going to come out with a few more things. I wish Marlene was on here too, because Marlene is one that likes to buy, they call them berries. If you heard him say that word a few times. At Convention, I thought they were literal berries, but they're not. It's when the shell or the husk part of the seed has taken off, what is left is what they call berries. And so Marlene, and they sell berries now, just the berries, because there are people like Marlene who like to grind and mill their own berries to make their own flour so that they can use that in their home, which is awesome to me. I'm not that homemade mommy type anymore. I used to be, but I'm happy that they're there for her. So that's what she gives to her children. And I think that's just awesome. So, I don't know. Is there anybody out there who has used any other products of the?
There's a few people in the chat that are talking. So if they want to kind of share their experience, because we can't all see the chat.
Oh, okay.
Julie?
Yes.
This is Jenny. I was going to tell you that I'm really sensitive to gluten, and I love the flakes, and I've also done the pasta and given it to my boys too. They are not too keen on the pasta, but we all love the flakes, so we're waiting for those to come back in, because that's a healthy breakfast that I feel good giving them.
That's awesome. And then if you put some wolfberries in it, hey, you've got a real treat, right? You know, that's great. I love that. What'd you say? Anybody else try any of them?
Hi, Julie. It's Melissa. right after convention, I made sure that I ordered the Einkorn flakes right away, and they're great. Like, they're hearty, but they're great. And I didn't realize, but there is lots of fiber in them, but they're just fabulous. Like, they taste nice and not junky, you know, like the flakes that you get at the grocery store. They're just really good. So I usually cut up a banana and have some nice fresh milk on them, and really good. Really
Are
good.
they sweetened in any way?
I think there might be just a little tiny bit of, I can't remember what type of sugars on them.
Coconut sugar. It's coconut sugar.
Okay.
Coconut sugar. Mm-hmm.
But they're not overly sweet at all. But they're really great.
That's awesome. There was something when you said it the first time. I can't remember what I was going to say. Anyway, as far as them going out of stock, because they've been out of stock for a while. But like any good oil we have or any of the products, once they go through their harvest, you know, I know, Gary, I know they're adding more and more acres of, because something else I watched, they have 200 acres, and they're adding more and more acres of Einkorn every year. But until then, we have to put up with when the stock goes out, the harvest is over, the product gets eaten, and it's gone until the next one. Because he's not going to go outside of his source, which is himself and his farms and partner farms, to get anything. Because, you know, if you go to the store, and Leah can testify to this because her dad owns the health food stores, almost, and that's another Gary talk, almost every single of the flours and the meals that are in the store that are spelt or whatever, there's like 2 different ones they sell as Einkorn, but they're really those other, what do you call them? Not oats, but other, I can't think of the word. They're not Einkorn. They're other, what is the word?
Grain?
Huh?
Grain?
Grain, thank you.
Grain.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to drive, so Karen's like, "Here, say something."
Thank you.
Well, a lot of them that were tested in, you know, a third-party test came back as either spelt or rye and not pure Einkorn. So either they're getting mixed up in the process where it's being harvested or bagged, or the chromosomes are like they're cross hybridizing. They're hybridizing it with just because they're planted in the same field or too near to each other, so they're no longer the pure Einkorn either.
Yeah.
Do you know, does the Einkorn, does it only grow over in France? Is that the only place that Young Living is farming it, or do we also grow it here in the U.S. at all?
No, he brought it over, and I think it may have been in the video. We just couldn't hear it, but he, or I watched another one today. I don't know. He has over 200 acres here now in Utah that is growing it. And that was one of his main things, because when you take a seed from its natural place, which was France, you know, he came over here and planted it to make sure that it was conducive to this type of land, because sometimes things just don't. But he said it came up as hardy, if not hardier, and you know, it flourished, so he knew that it would be okay to grow it over here, and so that's Utah. And so he's got a big farm there. So and another thing that the guy was saying that was talking French, he was saying that for 10 years they'll grow Einkorn wheat in the field, and they never have to fertilize, they never have to do any of that. And then it grows perfectly next to lavender. So their other crop is lavender over there. So after 10 years though, they pull it out and they plant lavender, or vice versa. They pull out the lavender and plant the Einkorn wheat, which adds back all the nutrients that it needs in the ground for, you know, it just replenishes the ground instead of having to leave it lay fallow. The Einkorn wheat actually rejuvenates the ground for the lavender, or for itself when, you know, as it grows. But go back and listen to that video when you got just a minute, and re-listen and read what that guy says, because it's quite interesting. And, you know, Gary reiterated a little longer after that so that we would all get the sense of it, but it gets cut off because Mary comes out and starts chatting in his ear. So anyway, those are the kind of things that you learn about our company, and, you know, Gary Young and the passion that he had to go forward with getting Einkorn. He's trying to get the healthiest things that he can for us. So I'm sure whoever's left behind to take up, I forget her name, the one girl who's now their product or farm overseer, whatever she does, farm overseer girl, is doing the same thing. She was very loyal to Gary and will take up where he left off. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I don't know if I can answer them. The 2 new products are not in the catalog, so, and I didn't have time to really look them up, so I couldn't tell you about them. I'm glad Karen and Jennifer were here. But I don't know. Anybody else got anything to say? Or?
Yeah, hi, this is Carrie. I really enjoyed the pancake mix, and of course with the syrup, very awesome. I'm trying to replicate it myself because that one little box is supposed to last me the year. Not gonna happen. So, but it's nice to know the science behind it and appreciate the work that goes into it. And yeah, the effects in our body is what we're really all going for. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm definitely going to be looking these guys up on the YouTube channels, trying to take notes on the French subtitles.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
Carrie, can you not get it shipped to Ecuador?
Well, sure, but it's like $50 shipping, so I'm not gonna bother with that.
Okay, but
so I just bring it once a year in my suitcase, but it's not available here in the Ecuador market.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you come home.
Yeah. And get refill. Yeah, you know, one suitcase is entirely food when I go. So
yeah,
but yeah, and I think, you know, I've been doing a little more research with the wheats and stuff, and it's just as bad here. They say no GMOs in Ecuador; it's not allowed. But if it's imported, it's already GMO. So a lot of the import products are just as bad, and I can't eat the breads or anything here either. Just as bad of reactions. So hopefully I get to go to France next year. Try that.
You know, that was another thing Gary was saying about the wheat. The reason that they started Franchising the wheat was to feed the masses better. And so I guess the reason was out of a good heart, I suppose. But when they realized how bad it was for people and how those extra chromosomes were throwing people's bodies off and that the body didn't know how to, they didn't stop. In fact, they kept going even more and producing more things of that kind of wheat. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what really bugged Gary. Because once they realized how bad it was for humans, and that's what the other guy was saying too about Einkorn. It was made perfectly for humans, you know, to eat. It's like the perfect food. And so that's how that whole city, that's why they did that whole archaeological thing, is because in the end they were saying it would have taken masses of people to build that city. How did they sustain them? How did they feed them? Well, fields of Einkorn. It was just enough nutrition and everything. And when he said that when the shell pops off from getting damp on the ground, did you guys catch that? That's when the enzymes. So when you look out in that field and you see all those, I guess you call them shafts, the shafts of stuff, they literally leave them out there 7 or 8 days so that the dew can get on them and the moisture and the rain, so that those shells will open up and start their enzymatic activity so that when we eat them, hey, you know. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting, and I am so not a science buff. But so I hope that encourages you guys, and maybe get some of you out to the convention to hear all kinds of stuff like this out there. And we would love to meet up with you all and do what we did last year. We had a good time. And Leah?
Well, real quick, I was just going to add to that. So I have like the stuff for the Einkorn berries and the Einkorn cereal in front of me. So just to add some more information to it, like the Einkorn berries, they actually are grown on the high mountain plains of the Sky Rider Wilderness Ranch in Utah. Okay. And they have like the whole like prehistoric times of like what you had mentioned before, how far back that grain goes, all the way up to the present. And you kind of explained more details of that. but then also switching over to the Einkorn flakes. So it's great for having a lower gluten content. So it makes Einkorn more compatible with the human body than modern hybridized wheat. So again, kind of like you mentioned, the reality is the body cannot break down the modern wheats that are on the market. So it also is pretty cool because it has great sustainability for the land. So Einkorn Flake cereal is perfect for those who appreciate and support traditional farming practices, non-GMO crops and foods. It's free from artificial flavors, colors, and preservatives. In general, diets low in saturated fats and cholesterol and rich in fruits and vegetables and grain. They contain some types of dietary fiber. It could reduce the risk of heart disease. So another just kind of tidbit that's important to why it is good getting, some of these grains in our bodies. Another little tip, I do the pancakes as well. Your milk, if you actually put like a tablespoon of vinegar and let it sit, it'll make your pancakes fluffy.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that is good to know. You know what? I was sitting here thinking that even
buttermilk pancake.
Like a really thick, like a heavy whipping cream, if you just put a little in and whipped it, because that might do it too, because that turns the whipped cream. I might whip it up a little. But to go along with Dana as far as health,
cream is really good in there.
Cream, coconut cream. That would be good, and it would sweeten it too.
Yeah, so cut out the dairy.
As far as the glycemic index too, how Gary was saying, all the I don't know how to say that word, the Franken stuff really is bad for people who have sugar diabetes, because it's so addictive. Number one, it turns straight to sugar because of this compactness or whatever, where Einkorn doesn't do the same. It doesn't raise the bar like the other ones do. So people who are concerned about eating, because that's the first thing to don't do white anything, but I don't know, it just would be good for people, like she said, for the heart, for the sugar, for everything. And it probably help you poop. Somebody else said something about fiber. It's very fibrous, that cereal. So hey, who doesn't need help there sometimes, right? So I hope this call was beneficial for you all and that you found value in it. And I love seeing you all. I don't get on these too often. I usually have a grandkid coming around and my son's picking him up. So that's what usually ties me up on Sunday nights. But this worked out perfectly. And
does anybody have any events they want to promote or things coming up?
So this is Tashina. I have my monthly Spanish online class on Tuesday. So that's 8:30 Eastern, and I will be going over the seedlings line this time around. And then after that, of course, we are all preparing for our rally. So we need everybody to, first of all, get their tickets if they're here in the Ohio or Michigan area. And, we do have the leadership packs that we didn't have last time. So executives and above, if you guys could commit to making sure you get a leadership pack and then distributing them that among your team, that'd be helpful. So that's October 6th. And then for those that are not in Michigan or Ohio, then I'm sure you guys will be rallying wherever you are.
I don't know if it's okay to say this on here, but we are planning something for the beginning of October to go 90 days. We're going to do the 90 days of IPAs. IPA stands for Income Producing Activity. So for anybody here who is sharing, building, really taking off, or just sharing with people and want to learn how to do it even better, we're going to be starting that October 1st, where we just for like a week, we're going to give an assignment, like 5 assignments, small. We're not asking you to go out there and sign up the world unless you like to, but at least share and show you how. And if you'd like to join us, you're welcome to. Let Leah or Karen or myself know, and we will be happy to put you in there. I think we have 10 or I don't know, 10 or 12 people, plus Leah, me, and Karen so far. And we would love to get to know some of you guys a lot better and help you to get started making your money, at least for your kids. Because I know how hard that is. That's exactly how I started, is because I had to pay for my addiction to oils and all this stuff. And so, and even if you just want to share with your friends, because you know these products are awesome and they're life-changing and you're just not sure how, come and join us, at least for the first night, and see. And if you're interested, like I said, get with one of us or text me your email and I'll send you a few things so that you can connect in. Okay?
Also, I'll go ahead and mention we have the spa party for October, I believe is the 21st. And then also keep in mind too, if you are planning on going to next year's Young Living Convention, the price does go up, I believe October 1st. So now is the time to kind of be planning to make sure, if you have not already purchased your ticket for that, to be getting your ticket for that. And then also we have some events coming up in November. Shannon has her next event coming up. And then we have the Fall Oily Fest that's coming up as well.
I just saw that. That's over at the country club over in, what is that city?
Clarkston.
In Clarkston, and Shannon's actually speaking there because her event conflicts with the Canada convention, and so all of her people in Canada can't come. So Shannon Hudson is also speaking at the Oily Fest.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yep. So if you sometimes come from out of state to Shannon's, and for whatever reason you have a conflict with November 2nd and 3rd, you can come see her at the Oily Fest, as well as Anthony and I are speaking there too. So
good. Awesome.
And then our monthly meetings. All of the information is on the Google Docs, and again, if you guys are having meetings in Farmington Hills or Ann Arbor or online, that's the team schedule. You can throw any of those on there. But our next monthly one will be the Tuesday after the rally. It will be in Bloomfield Hills at the Rusty Bucket. And it's going to be another fun one. It is fall scents and tips. So we're going to be going over all the basic stuff, all the stuff that you need to order right now before it goes out of stock, such as your inner defense, your cough drops, etc. And then we're going to have some glass bottles and just reed diffusers, and we're going to make like pumpkin spice and all types of nice just scents, because we know sometimes we're talking to people, and like I posted in the group today, somebody had their maple and their pumpkin spice, and they had their 7 candles out, but then 2 hours prior they were complaining about some issues that, toxins sometimes irritate. So we know some people, like, we talk to them about the toxins and I just want my candles. So we're going to teach people how to get those scents in their diffusers by practicing with some little reed diffusers, so they can still have their pumpkin spice and be healthy using their diffuser instead of their candle.
Yeah. I have one more thing to say, if that's okay, Dana, is it? This book that's where I got a lot of information. I read about Einkorn stuff too, and the whole story about Gary going to get the seeds and all that. If you do not have this book, and you can get it, it is a fabulous book to get to know Gary, the whole Young Living Foundation. Everything about Young Living is in this book, and it shows the passion that he had for everything he does. He does it stellar, he does it the best, and he wants the best. But it just shows so much about the character of the man and of the company we represent. And so I just thought I'd throw that in there because it's a wonderful book. So I think that's it for the call, unless anybody else has any more announcements. Anyone?
Thank you, Julie.
You're very welcome, Nova Scotia girl, and our Ecuadorian friend. I love you too. And all these Detroit girls. It's awesome. And I'm from Ohio for the new one that was on here earlier. So I appreciate you all getting on tonight. It was great. Okay, so I guess now I stop recording.
Bye. Thank you.
See you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to stop it now, I guess. Do you want to stop it? Yes.